Hi, my name's Elizabeth Blandon, and I'm here to let you know a few tips having to do with tax returns. We're not going to tell you whether you should file a tax return or not. That's something only a tax professional can tell you. However, it is important for immigration purposes to make sure that certain items in the tax return have certain answers. And the reason that is because in the future, when either you apply for yourself for an immigration benefit or you apply on behalf of someone else, the federal government already has all this information. They can access it easily from the Internal Revenue Service. In fact, they can even demand that you provide this information before they either make you a resident or allow you to avoid deportation. So it's very important that this year, as you're preparing for your taxes, or as you look at prior taxes that you filed, you pay attention to 4 very important points. The first thing is, what address does it state on the tax return? Do not place an address where you are not actually living unless you specify that it is a mailing address. The reason for that is very important. In the future, you will be asked, if you're providing some kind of case to immigration, you will be asked not only your address at that time, but you will be asked your last addresses, perhaps for the last 5 years or the last 10 years. It must match what is in a federal tax return, or else you're going to be asked to explain, why did you tell the IRS that you lived somewhere where you actually did not live? Credibility is king when it comes to asking for immigration benefits. The second point that is extremely important, and is probably the reason why we ask people to amend their tax returns, is because sometimes people will let tax professionals determine what their marital status is. If a couple is saying that they are married in their immigration documents, then the tax return should not say that they are single. There are 2 ways for married people to file. They can file jointly or they can file separately. Each one, one person is head of household, or there's other ways. But please don't put single if you are actually married, because that is going to come back to haunt you. There was a case that we had where we were trying to prove the validity of the marriage, and the person put on the tax return that they were single. Kind of as a corollary to that is also, if you're saying that you have stepchildren that you're taking care of, those stepchildren should be listed on the federal tax return as your dependents if you're saying that they've lived with you and that you've been taking care of them. Likewise, if they are not on the tax return, don't say later that you were claiming them or that they did live with you as a way of saying, oh yes, this was absolutely a valid marriage. These children lived with me. Well, really? They're not on your tax return. Okay. Very important also, the amount of income. The amount of income is part of the ways that it's determined whether a person should file a tax return or not. And sometimes I'll hear clients say to me, well, I didn't file a tax return because I didn't make enough income, which may be all well and good. Let's say that in 2014 you didn't make enough income to file a tax return. What happens? That now in 2017, when you're filing, or 2018 or 2019 or 2020, when you're filing a case on behalf of a family member, you may be asked, in fact you probably will be asked, to provide prior tax returns to see your stability, to make sure that other family member won't become a public charge in the United States. If you're claiming you personally only made $5,000 a year, that means you probably won't be able to support another family member coming to the United States when you yourself are struggling financially in this country or are depending on someone else. So if you don't file a tax return because you don't make enough income, just know that's going to come back and haunt you when in the future you're trying to petition someone else. There's a way to fix it. You might be asked to get a joint sponsor. But a joint sponsor is any U.S. citizen or legal permanent resident who's willing to file an affidavit of support on behalf of your family member. That won't be easy to find. Better to put the right amount on the tax return, the amount that you're making, so that in the future you don't have to either amend it or look for a joint sponsor. And another important note on the tax return form, right where you're going to sign, to your right, there is a little part that says what your job title is. Very important. Please don't tell us you own a business and then right next to it it says you're a waitress. Okay? We have seen that, and it becomes a problem because the question then becomes, are you lying to immigration or did you lie to the Internal Revenue Service when you said you were actually a waitress and were earning cash. It's extremely important that everything be consistent. In order for immigration to believe you about the validity of the marriage or whether you have good moral character, everything has to be consistent. In one case that we had, we were trying to ask for a benefit known as cancellation. For the benefit of cancellation, they ask to prove that the person has been living in the US for the last 10 years. And one of the documents they requested was last tax returns for the last 10 years. In the tax returns, one of those 10 years, the person said they were earning less than $10,000 a year. And they were supporting a US citizen child. The judge said that that was a lie. It was physically impossible to support a US citizen child and one person on $10,000 a year. And because of that, the person did not get cancellation because they did not have good moral character for that 10-year period. But because they lied, the judge said, to the Internal Revenue Service. Okay? So these things are very important. Please keep them in mind. Let your tax professional advise you, but also keep notes of these 4 items. So for Blandon Law, we hope to be opening the door to your success. We're here to protect and inform.